Stay out of my way.
You're losing it, kid.
There's been a lot of discussion lately about Spider-Man Brand New Day, and one theory that keeps coming up is that a pretty old and underrated Marvel character might actually explain what's really going on in the movie. Even though the trailer gave fans a bunch of clues, it still hasn't clearly revealed who the main villain is, and that mystery is kinda driving all these theories right now. When you look at everything the trailer shows, it feels like there's more happening beneath the surface. Peter Parker is dealing with some kind of DNA mutation, which already sounds like a serious problem, and at the same time, there's this invisible threat that nobody can really see or understand. That alone makes the situation feel more psychological than just physical. On top of that, there are hints of mind control or telepathic influence, which adds another layer because it means the danger might not just be about strength or fighting ability. Because of those elements, a lot of people have started thinking that Jean Grey could be involved, especially since there are rumors about Sadie Sink playing a mysterious role in the film. It kinda makes sense on the surface, since Jean Grey is known for her telepathic powers. But even though that idea sounds convincing, it still doesn't fully explain everything the trailer is hinting at. That's where things get interesting, because even if Jean Grey is part of the story, she probably isn't the main antagonist. And when you look at other confirmed or rumored villains like Tombstone or Scorpion, they don't really match the kind of threat the movie seems to be building. They're dangerous, sure, but they're not known for controlling minds or manipulating people from the shadows. This is where a lesser-known character like Dr. Jonas Harrow starts to make a lot of sense. He's not one of Spider-Man's most famous enemies, but his abilities and history line up almost perfectly with what the movie is teasing. And because he's not as widely known, the MCU could use him in a surprising way without most audiences seeing it coming. Dr. Harrow actually goes all the way back to the early 1970s, first appearing in The Amazing Spider-Man number 114. He wasn't introduced as a typical villain at first, but more as a scientist working behind the scenes. One of his earliest major contributions was helping create Hammerhead by surgically enhancing him with a reinforced skull after a gang-related injury. That alone sets the tone for what Harrow does best. He doesn't usually fight directly, but instead creates or modifies other villains. That pattern continues with characters like Kangaroo, who gained his abilities through Harrow's experiments. So even though Spider-Man was dealing with these threats, the real mastermind was often hidden in the background. Another important example is Will-O-the-Wisp. In that storyline, Harrow uses cybernetic implants to control him, turning him into a kind of unwilling villain. What makes that situation even more interesting is that Spider-Man doesn't immediately realize what's going on, because the true source of the problem is concealed. And that idea of a hidden puppeteer fits almost perfectly with what the Brand New Day trailer is suggesting. There's even a moment where someone describes the threat as something they can't control and can't even see, which feels very similar to how Harrow operates in the comics. Instead of showing up and causing chaos directly, he manipulates events from a distance. It wasn't until The Amazing Spider-Man number 206 that Spider-Man finally confronted Harrow directly. In that story, Harrow uses a machine to influence people's emotions, which is a huge detail because it connects directly to the idea of mind control. Even after that, he continues building networks of controlled individuals, basically creating an army that he can command whenever he wants. So when you take all of that into account, it becomes a lot easier to see how Dr. Harrow could fit into the MCU version of this story. If there's an unseen force controlling people in New York, and if multiple villains seem to be connected in some way, then having one mastermind behind it all would tie everything together nicely. It also helps explain why there are so many villains appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. The trailer already shows a bunch of different threats, including Tarantula, Boomerang, and even members of the Hand. On the surface, that might seem like too much going on, but if they're all connected through someone like Harrow, it starts to feel more cohesive. Instead of each villain acting independently, they could all be part of a larger plan. And that's something the MCU has done before, introducing multiple characters but linking them through one central figure. It makes the story feel bigger without becoming completely disconnected. Then there's the whole situation with Peter's DNA mutation. That's another detail that hasn't been fully explained yet, but it feels like something that could easily tie back to Harrow's experiments. He's known for altering people at a biological and technological level, so it wouldn't be surprising if he's somehow responsible for what's happening to Spider-Man as well. Even though it's possible that the mutation is unrelated, Combining it with the mind control angle and the presence of multiple villains makes the Harrow theory even stronger. It creates a scenario where everything physical changes, mental manipulation, and external threats are coming from the same source. Beyond just the main movie, there's also something interesting happening with one of the villains appearing again in another 2026 MCU project. And that character is Scorpion, played by Michael Mando. After showing up in Brand New Day with a more comic-accurate suit, Scorpion is set to return in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2. That show exists in a slightly different universe, but it still shares a lot of similarities with the MCU, so it creates a kind of ongoing connection between projects. Scorpion was already a major part of the first season, and bringing him back again after the movie helps build continuity. It also gives fans more time with the character, especially since he's one of Spider-Man's more brutal enemies. In the animated series, he's already proven how dangerous he can be, and that makes his appearance in the movie even more exciting. What's also interesting is how the show includes a bunch of other characters like Gwen Stacy, Venom, Daredevil, Dr. Octopus, and Chameleon. That lineup alone shows how expansive Spider-Man's world is becoming across different projects. When you put everything together, Brand New Day feels like it's setting up something much bigger than just one standalone story. Even though the trailer keeps the main villain hidden, the clues point toward a layered narrative where multiple threats are connected in unexpected ways. And that's why the idea of Dr. Jonas Harrow being involved is so compelling. He fits the tone, he fits the mystery, and he fits the scale of what the movie seems to be building. Even though he's not a household name, using him could give the MCU a fresh kind of villain, someone who doesn't rely on brute force, but instead controls everything from behind the scenes. So while nothing is confirmed yet, the pieces are definitely there. And if the movie does go in that direction, it could end up being one of the more unique Spider-Man stories we've seen so far, because it blends science, mystery, and psychological tension into one connected narrative. That's all we've got to say for today. If you want to stay in the loop with all the latest movie and series news, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and show some love with a thumbs up. I'll be bringing you fresh updates on upcoming films before they even drop, so make sure you're locked in. From royal, high-level DCU and MCU breakdowns to the quieter rumors that don't always make headlines but often turn out to be true, we cover it all. Keep your eyes right here, because if you truly love cinema, this is the channel you need to be watching.